All right, well, let's do Nitro.
Craig, I know you're a big fan of the Bobby Heenan middle finger of death.
Oh, my goodness.
He almost got stuck.
This one, Lance and I think we're going to term it the Bobby Heenan salute. It started with the handheld or with the mic, and he was fiddling with it, and the middle finger went from the top of the mic to his nose and then scratching his lip. This was like 20 seconds of middle finger.
Yeah. He doesn't like the guy.
Actually, Eric was talking this time.
Huh.
I repeat, he doesn't like the guy.
I love the announcers are talking about the Civil War of 1996. And this was a show where Bischoff just decided he was going to target Raw again.
Oh, yeah.
Talked about this lineup. We've got Eddie Guerrero versus William Regal, Benoit, Alex Wright. And in the main event, we've got Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage against Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. The other guys aren't giving you this kind of stuff for free.
They were all night long laying on the anti-WWF spiel thick.
You know, what was so funny about it, too, was the great irony. There were two talking points that Bischoff made. One was that we're giving you this great stuff for free, and they're not. And the other one was that I cannot believe the WWE is raising the price of their pay-per-views. And the irony is, giving away all that bullshit for free was one of the big mistakes WCW made.
Yes.
And when WWF raised the price of their pay-per-views, that's what arguably saved the company.
Didn't their sales go up?
Their
buys went up.
Their buys went up dramatically when they raised the price, and their revenue skyrocketed. They were having one of the worst years of all time. I don't know if they really would have gone out of business, but they were as close to going out of business as they ever were, probably except for if WrestleMania 1 had failed. But they were not doing well, and it was raising the price of the pay-per-view that started to turn things around for him. So everything Bischoff was mocking them for and praising himself for were things that bit each other on the ass.
Yeah. Not to mention, later on, when he mentioned that Mankind had won the title, like everybody turned the channel to watch that.
Many years later. He made a lot of dumb mistakes, I have been told.
He did. Chris Benoit versus Alex Wright.
Oh, man.
I don't know if we've ever mentioned this before, but Chris Benoit was an excellent, excellent pro wrestler.
Yeah.
He did not ever go through the motions. It was never a waste of time watching. Watching,
I would have liked to have seen him go through the motions.
I've seen 700,000 back elbows in my day. But he threw a back elbow, I thought, holy crap, look at that back elbow.
That's right.
Then he picked him up and hit a body slam, and I thought, holy crap, look at that body slam. So Brian Pillman was also out there interfering, and then Alex Wright made a big comeback and wiped out Pillman. And then Wright basically got the heat on Benoit. Worked him over for a while, put him in a Boston Crab and then an STF. And Pillman tried to trip him, and Wright wiped him out again. And they took turns going for suplexes and not getting them. Actually, the finish was awesome. They kept going for suplexes, a dragon suplex here or a Northern Light suplex there. And the guy about to get suplexes would always fight it off. And they traded about 5 attempts at this. And finally, Benoit just hauled off, punched him in the face, and then hit a dragon suplex for the win. That was a great finish.
A fun little match right here. I liked how they were still talking about the over-the-top rope DQs. When did they finally give up on this bullshit?
Vinny and I were just talking about that.
God damn, driving me crazy.
I asked Vinny, I said, in WCW, is it illegal to throw a man over the top rope, or is it not?
Well, what happened was, technically it was illegal to throw a man over the top rope, but everyone just started throwing each other over the top rope, and Bischoff would constantly decide that that one wasn't a DQ. And I presume at some point they just dropped it. I don't know why Bischoff just didn't have a meeting one day and just say, okay, throw each other over the top rope now. Like, who was really fucking keeping track of this fucking rule? Fans?
Well, in the NWA back in the day, that was illegal.
I know that, but in 1996?
Also in Ohio Valley, it was illegal.
It doesn't matter. I'm talking WCW in 1996.
I'm sure Eric Bischoff was very concerned about the Ohio Valley rulebook.
No one had been disqualified for throwing someone over the top rope since probably 1992. And they were still talking about this fucking rule. Meanwhile, Alex Wright is standing on the post, and he does a dive all the way down to the floor. That's okay, but throwing a man over the top rope is far too dangerous.
Well, he threw himself over the top rope.
Sick of this rule. Just end it.
And by the way, Pillman is a dastardly heel in this match.
Crazy man.
He was awesome.
Yes, he was. Speaking of awesome,
Yes, sir.
Lord Steven Regal versus Eddie Guerrero.
A fine little battle here.
A quick aside, here was another moment where Bischoff went crazy on attack mode. Out and out told fans, don't buy that Royal Fumble pay-per-view.
The Royal Fumble.
How clever.
Man, he showed them.
So these guys did the most beautiful chain wrestling you ever saw. And eventually Regal, who was much larger, cut him off and just started hitting elbow smashes and other power spots because he was so big.
I don't want to harp on Vince McMahon, but William Regal was unbelievable during this match. He was so awesome. He had the best facial expressions you ever saw. He was unbelievable on the mat. He could do everything. He was absolutely tremendous. And Vince McMahon never saw anything in this guy's work. Was never impressed with William Regal. He was just a guy that did a bunch of holds. Come on.
You're really underselling this. Eddie took the offense early with all of his lucha stuff. He hit lucha move after lucha move after lucha move. And then Regal got the heat with a European uppercut.
Yeah.
It was so great.
Clever little guy.
I loved when Regal was dropping a series of elbows on young Eddie, and Eddie decided he was going to sit up,
Yes.
but Regal decided, I have one more elbow I'm going to give you, you little fucker. And so as Eddie is sitting up, Regal dropped the elbow anyway. Nearly killed him. This match was beautiful.
So Eddie kept getting host spots and getting cut off, and then finally hit a backslide out of nowhere for the win. That was a great wrestling match.
Yes, it was. It was.
Gene Okerlund interviewed Sting and Lex Luger. Sting had a question for Lex, and they had still photos showing the finish of the triangle match. And when I say still photos, they showed so many still photos, they may have well just showed the actual shot of what happened. So what happened was, of course, they were both outside the ring, and as Sting was about to re-enter, Lex reached up and grabbed him, so Sting couldn't get in, and they both got counted out, and Ric Flair won.
2 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
they're finally talking about it.
Yes, it had been, yes, they teamed up last week on Nitro and just didn't care. So Lex explained that he had injured his knee, and he was just reaching out so Sting could help him up. This sounds like a bullshit excuse.
Yep.
Before Sting could answer, Lex said, let me prove that we can be trusted. We should be a regular tag team. And Sting thought that was a great idea, because Lord knows nothing has ever gone wrong with Sting picking a tag team partner.
They're back on the same page. Everything's great.
They are. Then Sting wrestled Diamond Dallas Page.
You know what's amazing about this match? When Diamond Dallas Page was in his late 30s, which he was in this match right here, he may have even been in his early 40s, but I think it was his late 30s. He looked like he was in his mid-50s. Now, that sounds like it's bad to be in your late 30s and look like you're in your mid-50s.
Tell me about it.
But amazingly, he never aged again. Aside from his haircut, he looks almost exactly the same now as he did when he was in his late 30s. So, Vinny, there's hope for you.
That's right.
You can remain looking 55 for another 20 years.
Sweet. So they did the spot for the heat where Sting tries a leapfrog, but he doesn't quite get high enough and his balls hit Page's head. There's always a goofy spot for the heat because it makes everyone involved look terribly clumsy.
And homosexual.
Mostly clumsy.
Mostly it just meant DDP was a tall man.
No, that's true. He is big. So,
And dirty.
are you done?
Would you like to continue, Craig, with your...
He came out to the ring and he looked like a grease ball.
Yes, he does. Why is
fantastic
Why
look.
is it homosexual that he tried to run underneath this man, but he was too tall? And he hit him in the
I
balls.
was making a inappropriate joke, Brian. Just let it slide.
It's 2015, Craig, and we're in Washington State. You can't make jokes like that.
Sure I can.
Go on, Vinny.
Just did.
So Page got the heat. It was mostly a long chin lock. And then Sting tried a scorpion, and Page got the ropes, and they just kept going. And this match was going nowhere and taking its sweet time to get there. And then finally, Sting won with the Scorpion. This was not very good.
Did you notice that Diamond Dallas Page tapped out?
Repeatedly at first.
No, I did not.
He must have been watching UFC. People didn't tap out in 1996, especially early 96. They just shook their head repeatedly till the referee called for the bell, but DDP tapped.
This match sucked.
What are you talking about? It was
I
fine.
hated this match.
It was not very
Oh
good.
my God! You watched Raw this week and you have a problem with DDP versus Sting? This
Just
was
because
fine.
Raw was worse does not mean this was very good.
It
No,
was
this was
fine.
bad. This
It was
was-
fine.
No good.
Main event was Ric Flair and Arn Anderson versus Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage.
You gonna tell me this was no good, Craig?
This was better.
I'll beat your ass.
This was better.
This match was great.
It was the formula tag match down to the down to the letter. Babyfaces ran wild forever. Lots of Hogan Flair shtick.
Dude, you're underplaying this running wild. Hulk Hogan discovered the fountain of youth. My God, this guy was running like a crazy man all over the ring. Just a wild man. Beating the shit out of Flair, backdrops, all this craziness. And then they do this double figure four spot.
Yeah.
A couple of things. First off, Hulk Hogan putting on a figure four is never not hilarious. Second off, Hogan has Arn in the figure four. And Savage has Flair in the figure four, if I recall correctly.
That is correct.
Arn Anderson, instead of saving himself, chooses instead to save his buddy Ric Flair. As he is writhing in pain, he reaches over to scratch the eyes of Randy Savage so Randy Savage will let go of Ric Flair. Arn a fucking horseman to the end.
Yes.
That was my favorite part of the match.
I didn't even notice, but it was a great spot.
That's right. He didn't even care about his own broken legs. His bigger concern
His
was,
job
I've
was to
got to
save Flair."
save Ric Flair.
Yes.
God, that was great.
Yes, that is why Arn was awesome. I liked Hogan doing, Savage did the figure four the way 99% of everyone does it with a spinning toe hold and then crossing the legs and dropping back. Hogan grabs the other leg, does the old school leg grapevine, and then slaps in the hold.
Yeah.
And it was not, I know he's done some where like the straight leg goes on top, so the hold isn't even really on. He has to pretend that that guy's locked in and can't move. But this is actually sweet the way this turned out. So they got the heat on Savage for a while, and then Hogan got the hot tag, did the Hogan comeback, and pinned Arn with a leg drop.
That's right. The best part, actually, I take it back. Arn saving Ric Flair was the second best part. The best part of the match also involved Arn Anderson. Hogan is doing his big comeback on Flair, and Arn gets the hot tag, and he hits a spine buster, and the place goes crazy. And he hits the spine buster, and he turns around to celebrate his spine buster, and Hulk Hogan pops up. And Arn Anderson turns around, and he sees that Hulk Hogan is standing there pointing a finger at his face. Everybody, listen to me. Before you watch New Japan, go to the WWE Network and load up this episode of Nitro and gander at Arn Anderson as a look of complete resignation comes over his face when he sees Hulk Hogan standing there. It is a look of a man who knows that Hulk Hogan is now doing his Hulk up. He knows that he is going to throw a punch, and Hulk Hogan is going to block it, and then begin his big comeback, boot him, leg drop him, and pin him. But Arn knows there's nothing he can do about it. He can't help but throw this punch. The look of resignation as he throws this punch that, of course, gets blocked was the best moment in the history of World Championship Wrestling, I would go as far as to say. It was so amazing. And sure as shit, Hogan hulks up, boots him, leg drops him, and pins him. And that was the end of Arn Anderson. This was so great.
The other thing to look for is the way the crowd is absolutely losing their minds during the figure four spot.
Yes. A
They
double
actually-
figure four. What could be better?
They pulled the camera back, and everybody from the front row to all the way to the rafters is just losing their minds.
Yeah.
people, nobody in the crowd on Raw did anything resembling this at all.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, he's right.
He is correct. Hey, everybody, mark one for Craig. Where's my
bell to ring or something?
Yeah, where's my might help if I turned it up. There we go. You're right, nothing on Raw got as big a pop as that.
No, because nobody cares anymore.
No one cares anymore. No one cares. But I cared about this match and this finish and everything about it. Then what happened, Vinny?
So Hogan won, and like literally as soon as the ref counted 3, the other horseman hit the ring. But lo and behold, who should attack the horseman but the Dungeon of Doom?
Oh, no.
Brian Pillman's been starting fires.
That's right.
So that brawl breaks out. The horsemen eventually bail. Giant hits the ring. He choke slams Hogan. He chokes slams Savage. Chokes slams, I said. And then Zodiac, once again, was the one to talk Giant down and bring peace to things. They did a very abrupt ending. They must have been right up against the hour. And that was that. And we mentioned this last week when this Dungeon of Doom Horseman thing started about the amazing contrast between these two teams.
Yeah.
I was just watching this and thinking, what does Zodiac do when he's not being the Zodiac? Like, we know when Nitro ends, Brian Pillman explained they go to the limousine and they break out the Dom Perignon and the naked women. What does Zodiac do with his spare time?
Well, I bet he goes backstage and washes off all the paint and sits there, towel over his genitals. He looks at Kevin Sullivan and just says, fuck. And then he goes and cuts some hair.
Actually,
Better than anything I got.
Actually, Mike Sempervive sent me a video. Apparently, he dances in a gentleman's club.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah.
That was years earlier, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, old habits die hard, I'm sure.
Sure.
Well, they do die hard.
Not a gentleman's club, but a
ladies' club.
A
In fact,
ladies'
yeah.
club. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the Booty Man, his earlier job.
Forgot
Yeah.
about that one.
And
That's right. He was the Booty Man.
gyrates rhythmically to Scandal.
Yeah. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Listen, if anybody's listening to this right now and you know whether or not we actually get a Chris Benoit Zodiac match, please do not alert me because I want to be thrilled and surprised.
And he's losing it for some reason.
Why is that so
Wheezing.
funny? I want that match.
You mentioned it before.
I know.
But I forgot until right now.
I want to see Chris Benoit against the Zodiac.
See if he knocks the paint off of him or what?
Yeah.
I see.
I don't know. Is it really that funny?
Yes.
Everybody's got a match they want to see.
Sure.
How can you not want to see that match, Vinny?
Well, I guess I do.
That's right. Well, hopefully we get it. And I hope it's not on Saturday night because I haven't been watching that one and I don't think that one's on the network. They couldn't possibly put a match that big on Saturday night. That's a pay-per-view match right there.
Think so, huh?
I think so.
I can confirm.
What the hell happened to Disco Inferno, by the way? He was
Who
coming
knows?
out and dancing on every show. Remember that? And then all of a
Apparently-
sudden he wasn't no more.
The Das Wunderkid took his...
Didn't Benoit beat his ass on one of these Nitros? I forget.
Disco?
Yeah.
I'm sure, but he's got years to do it.
No, but I mean on one we've watched already.
I don't think so.
Because if it happened, we haven't seen him
Last
since.
I remember was Disco and Sabu.
Oh, yeah. No wonder he has not shown his face again.
He's
I
afraid
would've
to
ran
wrestle
away
again.
too.
That's right. Well, I guess that's the show, everybody. This is the quickest we've ever gotten done, but that's all we got to... Let's talk about Nitro.
All right, fun show.
How can anyone not like this show after that Raw?
I am excited about Nitro now. It opened with Randy Savage versus Lex Luger.
That's right.
So Lex used the best sneaky trick ever to start the match. The bell rings, and he immediately leaves the ring. He grabs a chair and throws it inside. So Savage picks it up, because you can't just leave a chair laying around. The other guy might grab it. The ref then pulls the chair out of Savage's hands, because that's the ref's job. But this distracts Randy, and Luger jumps him from behind. Devilish.
Dastardly.
Dastardly. He spent most of the match brawling back and forth, in and out of the ring a lot. And after about 5 minutes, Savage missed the big elbow. Luger lifted him up, put him in the torture rack for the win. The announcers were apoplectic that Savage had submitted.
Apoplectic, huh?
I think I used the right word there. And you know how Michael Cole always says something is a big win and it never is? This felt like a really big win for Lex.
Well, it was.
He beat Randy Savage clean via submission.
I believe Savage is getting a championship match next week.
We will get to that, but yes, they did announce that.
Not only did he win the match, but he actually won over the crowd as Luger was being chanted throughout the arena.
Yeah.
I was very surprised.
He was working tonight.
Have I mentioned how great Randy Savage was?
Numerous times. But
Let me
do it
tell
again.
you. Let me tell you about how great he was.
Never gets old.
The more I see this guy, the more I miss him, and guys like him. Although to be fair, there were not a lot of
It's a short list.
I am very sad watching this match. It's probably about 2 years later, maybe 3, that he decided, I am going to get as big as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And he gained I don't know. Looking at him here, seems like about 50 pounds. And that was the beginning of the end of him as a worker. He went from a great athlete to a stiff bodybuilder, and his body, I don't know if you guys remember Randy Savage when he first started wrestling. This is a skinny guy.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's body was not designed to carry as much weight as he was carrying when he got blown up like the Michelin Man. And then his hips started to go out, and then he started to hurt people because he didn't want to land on his hip, and so he just fucking crushed him with his flying elbow. Very sad how this whole thing ended up, because goddamn, he was great. Very underrated right hand. This guy threw a great right hand. Threw a great jab. I know you're going to disagree, Craig, the best flying elbow of all time. Sean had a great flying elbow. It wasn't as good. This guy had the best flying elbow of all time. I'd go as far as to say that's a fact.
It's your show.
I don't need a poll to know that I'm right. The best flying elbow ever. Dave gave this a 1.5 stars.
Times change.
He said neither guy looked very good in the ring.
Well, one of them did.
He's half right.
Oh, they both did.
Man.
This is one of Lex's better mid-90s nights.
He was actually had his working boots on.
Yes.
But
His working boots are a step above his not working boots.
His standing boots.
It's got one extra lace. That's about it. But Savage looked great. He always looked great. He was awesome.
So the Dungeon of Doom came out alongside the Four Horsemen.
When the hell did One Man Gang show up and win the U.S. title? Did I miss a Saturday night?
Yes.
must have.
This was so wacky.
I would say or a Clash, but the Clash is coming up. But yeah, apparently on Saturday night, One Man Gang showed up, joined the Dungeon of Doom, and won the U.S. title.
I can't believe that he was the One Man Gang and not Akeem when he was part of the Dungeon of Doom. The hell do they have a gang member
If that would
for?
have been a better fit or not.
They could have called
One
him
Man
like...
Gang was pretty wacky.
He was pretty wacky. He fit in well with the Dungeon of Doom.
He did. So they grabbed Gene Okerlund. They all stood in the ring, got down to business. Giant, by the way, no less than 9 feet tall. He looked huge.
And yet somehow smaller than he is today.
But they always put him next to Sullivan and Gene.
Well, that helped.
Yeah.
But even they cut to a wide shot with everyone in the ring, and Gang is like 6'6" or whatever. Everyone else was 6 foot or 6'1", and then over on the far side of the screen is this skyscraper in a singlet. Mm-hmm. He looked comically enormous.
By the way, that reminds me. I got to see if it was this week's Observer. But there was such an amazing Dave moment that I got to find. And unfortunately, all of the links are broken on the front page.
Awesome.
God damn it. All right, you go on. I got to
You
figure
do your
out
hunting.
this
I will talk
fucking
about this
problem.
segment. There's a lot to say here. So, Arn's first statement was to scold Brian Pillman for not wearing a suit to this business meeting.
He was wearing a half shirt.
He was wearing a half shirt. I believe he also had a bandana on.
And I'm almost positive he had a fanny pack.
Wouldn't surprise me. I had to go back and check, but probably had blue jeans tucked into cowboy boots. It's a great look.
Sounds about right.
Many earrings.
True.
So Arn let him know this is unprofessional. Then he moved on to business. He explained to Okerlund and to Kevin Sullivan that the Horsemen's #1 mission in life was to ensure that Ric Flair was world champion. That was their primary mission. As long as that was being done, their secondary mission was to get whatever other gold they could get their hands on. And that was it. They had no interest in fighting the Dungeon of Doom because there was no money to be made that way. And that was his statement. Sullivan put Flair over as the greatest world champion ever. He was so impressed and such a fan of Ric Flair that he offered to loan Giant to Flair to be his tag team partner in the Clash of Champions. Flair was greatly thrilled to get this news. Sullivan then put Arn over like $1 million, but then he just dressed Pillman. He said Pillman had no respect. He vowed to beat respect into him. And Anderson intervened. He said, Sullivan, I want you to know we respect you, but we do not fear you. At this point, Pillman went nuts, as he is wont to do. He fired up, started jumping up and down, screaming they did not fear Sullivan, until Arn hauled off and slapped him. He yelled at Pillman, this is going to stop right now. And he let Sullivan know that they were going their separate ways, and then, in fact, they did. Mm-hmm. The two heel factions separated, and apparently had come to a truce.
Two things. Pillman's crazy eyes. If you would tell me the man is sane, I would tell you you're a liar. And then after Arn slapped him, Benoit was staring a hole through Arn Anderson, and I was afraid for Arn Anderson's life. I thought Benoit was going to murder him. So dissension in the ranks.
I didn't say it, everyone.
Oh, geez, I didn't even think about that. I apologize, everyone.
So, yes, Benoit was not happy with Arn's actions here, and there was dissension running through the Horsemen running wild.
He was disappointed.
Yes.
I found, on a lighter note, what I was looking for here. Dave in The Observer. It reminds me of you, Vinny, talking about the size of the giant. Dave says the Japanese version of the Baseball Encyclopedia lists Shohei Giant Baba at being 6'6" 3/4, not the 6'8" 1/2 I'd estimate him as being, having met him a few times. Not making this up, everybody.
Oh, I don't doubt it for a second.
Dave Meltzer met Shohei Baba, and he looked him up and down, and he estimated not that he was 6'8" or even 6'9", but rather exactly 6'8" 1/2. I've got to ask him about this, how he came to this conclusion. By the half inch, he made this estimate.
Maybe when he met him, they were like in a police lineup, and so the measurements were on the wall right behind him. And that's how he came to that estimation.
Could have been. Could have been.
So
I made no estimates when I saw the giant in the ring other than he's tall.
he's freaking huge.
He's bigger than the other guys.
Yes.
It's about the most I could get out of that observation.
So
Reminds
the announcers...
me, I hate to stop you again, but
whatever.
It reminds me of when Dave used to review matches, and he would see a particularly bad match, and sometimes he would give it like -1.75 stars.
Yes.
And I was like, what separated that from a star and -1.5 stars versus -2? I can understand like a dud all the way up to 5 stars, because there was once like a listing of what each star rating meant. 1 star was terrible, but at least a high spot. 2 stars was average. 3 stars was good. 4 stars was excellent. 3.5, for example, was extremely good. So you could take this and you could kind of go, okay, well, that's a quarter. That's halfway between good and extremely good. Just pretty fucking good, for example. That's 3.25. But when you're getting into the negative stars, it's just kind of like, okay, that was either -1 star or -5 stars. What the hell's the difference in between? But he would get like a -1.75. It's just astonishing to me. But hey, that's why he's Dave.
That is why he's Dave Meltzer. So the announcers are recapping this promo and all that's going on and the dissension of the Horsemen, and they don't believe that the Sullivan-Pillman thing is done yet. And suddenly Bischoff like grabs his headset and announces, "Oh wait, we have a standby match."
Oh, goody.
A standby match, I guess, in case the promo went short, and then it did.
Well, hey.
So the standby
No,
match.
Vinny, you're wrong. You're wrong.
All right.
It was supposed to be a match. Remember, Arn was supposed to be wrestling.
Yes.
But they had a summit instead. So they lost a match off of the format. So they had to have a standby match.
I see. I did not
actually
catch
makes
that
sense.
detail. All right.
But the standby match was the debuting
Yes.
Public Enemy.
Well, they'd been waiting in the wings for a
were
while.
on
He mentioned
standby.
they'd already been bumped once due to travel issues.
That's right.
So yes,
Should
Public
have been
Enemy.
bumped again.
Yes. Somebody took a bump.
Public Enemy versus the American Males. Bobby Heenan, God bless him, he managed, and I could tell it was a chore, but he said Johnny Grunge and Flyboy Rocco Rock with a straight face.
Yes.
And he really tried to put them over as tough guys who don't give a fuck from the mean streets of Philadelphia. Okay, first of all, the entrances for these teams. You've never seen so many white people doing white people dancing as you did here during Public Enemy's entrance. In Miami, mind you.
I've seen you, Vinny.
Yeah, but that's just one guy.
Single-handedly.
This is the
And a
whole
pole.
You may have trumped all four of these men.
Then the American Males came out, and I don't know if the term cougar existed in 1996, but if it did, they were out.
Yes.
They were thrilled to see the American Males. They're very happy to see them.
And why wouldn't they be?
So, let it be known that within, 20 seconds of his very first WCW match, Johnny Grunge failed to take a clothesline over the top rope.
That was the least of his worries in this match.
See,
They
it
sucked.
It wasn't good,
Not at all.
It was terrible.
but it was kind of charming. The first half. The finish was awful.
In what way was it charming?
They did so many fun old school tag spots. They didn't even do them very well,
No.
but just everything to make the heels look like buffoons.
That was pretty easy in this match.
Which, yeah, they did. A lot of it was self-inflicted, but just the basic stuff like the heels whip both faces in, the faces duck clotheslines, and they both hit drop kicks, and the heels bail. You don't see that stuff anymore because no one knows how to do tag team wrestling. And
Yeah,
just
it stopped after this match.
seeing it made me
Retired
smile.
that spot from pro wrestling.
So
Listen, everybody.
the
These
finish
guys
was horrendous.
These guys came straight from the ECW arena doing hardcore matches. As Dave noted in The Observer, it was the awards issue. The awards issue had come out the day before The Observer that recapped this show. And he noted that Public Enemy got more first-place votes than any other team for Tag Team of the Year. And the American Males placed for the worst tag team. They came from Philadelphia. They got in the ring with the American Males. The American Males worked circles around them. Both Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock, trying to do a pro wrestling match, got absolutely, completely blown up. We had a distraction finish after they'd sold the entire match.
Yes.
And Johnny Grunge pinned Bagwell using the trunks.
You're actually not giving this enough credit for being a bad finish. There was supposed to be Riggs taking the ref and some other stuff going on, but all their timing was off. And so Bagwell was pinned by this schoolboy with the trunks for at least 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Just down there forever.
So horrible.
It just goes to show you how much of a mad genius
Yes!
Paulie is.
That is entirely fucking correct. They should play this match when Paul Heyman goes into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That should be his induction video, like what they do with Savage. They just play the Public Enemy versus American Males match from Nitro and then put this guy in the Hall of Fame. But there was more.
Oh, there was more. So as soon as the bell rang to signal the win, they kept beating up Bagwell. Riggs just vanished. And they put a table up, put another table up. They actually got Bagwell on top of the tables, which I was trying to figure out how they were going to do that, but they managed to do it. And then Rocco went up top, and he put Bagwell through both tables with a flipping senton. So Bagwell is down, clutching his ribs, screaming in agony. Rocco is down, grabbing his ribs, screaming in agony. Bischoff and Heenan are going nuts about this horrific, violent act, this crime they have just seen, this assault, wondering how badly Bagwell is injured. And Mongo is only concerned about who is going to pay for the tables.
That's what he said.
He was so hysterically terrible.
You know, I got to say, when I was watching this match here. WWE has a way of doing things where it is sports entertainment, it is World Wrestling entertainment. They have a way of scripting their guys, they have a style of work, and when you come to the company, no matter who you are, Prince Devitt, El Generico, Kevin Steen, Kenta, the very first thing they do is they send you to developmental so they can turn you into one of their guys.
A robot.
Yes. Now, granted, they're starting to give guys a little bit more freedom. I mean, Kevin Owens is essentially Kevin Steen. Sami Zayn is essentially Generico without a mask. But that's generally what they've done during the period that there has been a WWF, WWE. Bischoff, I got to give the guy credit. He would take these guys like Public Enemy, and they would come in as Public Enemy, and they would work. And granted, they had to do a wrestling match here, which sucked. Mm-hmm. But they did their big Public Enemy spot at the end of the match, just like Sabu did when he came in. They set up the two tables, they put the guy on top, and they put him through. He let them be who they were in the other company. Now, with all that said, as I was watching this, pretending like I was watching it for the first time, all I could think was, even though that's cool and all that you're letting these guys be Public Enemy, what the fuck are you going to do with these guys? They're going to come in on every show and be ECW and put somebody through a table at the end of every match. They're going to come in and be hardcore, have one random hardcore match with tables in the middle of a normal wrestling show. This doesn't make any sense. So there was that part of me that sort of understood why WWE does what they do, because it's weird in the middle of Nitro to have Public Enemy coming in and putting these two fuckers through tables. It's just weird. It makes no sense. And in the end, it didn't work. For a number of reasons. But it didn't work. Tag Team of the Year right there, Public Enemy.
We then had Sting versus Ric Flair.
After the Super Brawl commercial.
There was the Super Brawl commercial where they mentioned that it's not about losing, it's about winning.
And the title.
Well, I don't know what you want me to say. Sting and Ric Flair had their Sting and Ric Flair match.
It's always good.
They had 50,000 matches. They are all exactly the same, and somehow it never gets old.
It never gets old. It's crazy.
It is amazing. I can't even see a change, and I'm sure they did this a lot, but they didn't do it every single time. Sting did the sunset flip spot, and then he pulled Flair's trunks down. And Flair sold this like he was in agony.
Hey, his bare ass was hanging.
His bare ass was out, and it caused him pain.
I got a story for everybody.
I don't like where this is going.
I know where it's going.
Craig knows.
Yeah.
I used to.
Oh, this doesn't make me feel any better.
I used to do this spot in virtually every single one of my matches. The guy goes for the sunset flip. I grab the ropes. He pulls my trunks down. I fall in the sunset flip. I kick out. I did this over and over and over again. Show after show after show after show. One day, I believe we're in Bellingham. I believe we were on the campus of Western.
Western Washington University.
Western Washington University. The campus of Western. And we're doing a show. And the guy goes for the sunset flip, and I grab the ropes. He pulls my trunks down, and I fall into the sunset flip. I kick out, and we continue the match. I win, of course. And then I go backstage, and Tim Flowers flipped his fucking lid. He blew his stack at me for having my trunks pulled down in a match. And no matter how many times I explained to Tim, you've seen me do this spot on every fucking show we have done for the last 3 straight years. He would have none of it. Nearly fired me. He was so mad. And the irony was, I had done matches at the B&I Marketplace, at the county fair, at the Temple Theater, in Abbotsford, every conceivable place, and we do a show on a college fucking campus, and my bare ass was enough to nearly get me fired on that show. I will never forget that, how mad he got at me. I think Craig may have even been there. And by the way, the irony of running a show at a college campus and doing it during spring break didn't work out very well. Because everyone, in fact, in fucking Washington gets the hell out of here for spring break. Nobody was there. God, he got mad. That's the greatest spot, though. There's no easier heat than that one.
Sometimes I wonder if I had broken in with someone else, if maybe I would still be wrestling somewhere. By somewhere, I mean indie shows in Washington, Canada. But maybe I would still have had fun.
Hey, Vinny, you were wrestling in Tulalip, and you were still getting sick of it.
That's true.
But we were having a hell of a lot.
I had a lot more fun for Caden than I did for Tim.
We had a hell of a lot of fun.
In fact, I'm trying to think if the worst show I ever had for Caden was still way more fun than any show I had for Tim.
We had some fun shows. The Ideal Mexican, the Ideal Canadian.
Yes.
You guys can Google some of these matches and see Vinny in his prime.
Well, no.
Oh, Vinny, you were in your prime.
No, I wasn't actually. I had better matches than the ones I had in Tulalip, but I had more fun in Tulalip. You've all seen the gif of me throwing a big boot and doing a wacky dance. Not because I was trying to do a wacky dance, but because I was trying to keep my balance.
That's right. Vinny, I got to give you credit. You had a hell of a big boot. I was amazed.
Not that one. Most of my big boots were better than that one.
Like, you could get your big boot so high, I could just run underneath it. I'd have no problem. You threw a big boot like Okada throws a dropkick. It's crazy.
I will just say that when we did shows for Richie, and the rare occasions I went over, Richie had me go over with a big boot.
That's right.
So he must have thought it was good. Anyway, back to Ric Flair's ass.
We saw it.
Actually, well, we didn't. The camera's on the wrong side. But so it was comical here because they started talking about the NFL playoffs and how Jim Harbaugh's team had just lost, and it was next teammate of Mongo's, is why they brought it up. But Bischoff just mentions, boy, Jim Harbaugh is such a wonderful person. And listen, I don't know Jim Harbaugh, but I do know that he just had a ridiculously successful 4-year run in San Francisco, and he still got fired because the people in charge didn't want to deal with him anymore.
I don't know what anyone's talking about here.
Yeah. So Jimmy Hart was at ringside just because he always, when they needed an interference finish, they put Jimmy Hart out there with whoever it was. So he jumps up in the apron. Luger runs out and tries to pull Hart's megaphone away, and he yanks the megaphone out of his hands, but in the process, he pulls it right into the corner where Sting is doing a Stinger splash. So Sting bonks into the megaphone and is knocked unconscious. So Luger and Hart start arguing. Sting is out cold, and Flair then puts him in the figure 4. You know why Ric Flair is the best wrestler ever?
Because he had to put him in his hole to raise the percentage of times he'd actually won with the figure 4.
That too, bringing the total perhaps to 1 against Sting for sure. But more importantly, even though this man was unconscious, as I said, out cold, and the referee was counting 3, Flair made sure to grab the ropes for leverage anyway.
Yes.
He's this phenomenal, evil, the dirtiest player in the game.
That's right.
It made me so happy.
Every moment of a match in his mind was, how can I be a dick?
Who was it that said, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat?
Bobby Heenan.
There you go. That was so great. So the ref counts 3. Sting is pinned. Luger then decides to attack Flair. But then Savage and Hogan run out, and all the heels leave. So the babyfaces revive Sting. Okerlund hits the ring to interview them all. And
Hogan booed the moment he started talking.
they attempted to explain to Sting, now you see what we're talking about. Lex Luger is screwing you over and over again. Sting had no idea what they were talking about. All he knew was he was wrestling a match, and then he was out cold. He didn't know what had gone on. When they told him Luger had screwed him, he said, I'm going to get an answer straight from the horse's mouth. And he left to go talk to Lex. So Hogan and Savage switched gears. They briefly, and I mean briefly, plugged their tag match against Flair and Giant at the Clash of Champions. Then Hogan turned to Savage. And he says, look, you have now lost to Lex Luger 4 times. Why are you getting a title shot in front of me? Savage warned him to back off. Said, I'm not Nick Bockwinkel.
He's definitely not Nick Bockwinkel.
In no way is he Nicholas Bockwinkel. I don't even know what that meant. Was there an inside reference I
Nick
missed?
Bockwinkel was the head of the championship committee. He was the one who assigned the title shots.
I see. I thought that was like a 15-year-old reference. So, he said, I'm not Nick Bockwinkel. I got the title match because I deserved it. And yes, I did lose tonight, but I'm going to win that title match. So Hogan tried to explain, listen, Randy, I have a much better chance of winning than you do. What a colossal asshole. What a rotten friend Hulk Hogan is. So Savage did not take this news well. He stormed off. Hogan was beside himself that Randy would not do the gentlemanly thing and step aside and give him a title shot. He's the worst friend ever.
You know what, Vinny? He is the worst friend ever, but you know what he is? He's a guy that cares about the title.
Well, yeah.
As does Randy Savage. This title was so goddamn important that it was breaking up friendships.
Yes. That is a good point.
That's fine with me.
Do you think Hogan had any inkling that he might be turning heel later on this year?
Still 6
At
months
this
away.
time.
Well, they I think they discussed it, but he didn't want to do it.
Okay.
Hogan thought that he was still Hulk Hogan.
Well-
These
Well, yeah.
fans just booing him. How dare they? He thought it was still the 80s.
Yeah.
Still does.
It's true.
Still does. Savage, when he cut that promo on Sting, first off, and then later he cuts the promo on Hogan, all deadly serious. He's dressed like a fucking chicken, essentially.
Sure.
And all I could think was, man, look at this guy. You can dress this guy like a chicken, and you still think he'd beat your ass. That's how great Randy Savage was.
Chicken, you say?
The Red Rooster would be the Undertaker today if Randy Savage had been given the role and not Terry Taylor.
Have you ever seen a chicken?
Oh, yeah, I had chickens.
Oh, all right.
Cock of the walk, Vinny. That's what he looked like.
I see.
He was
That's
all
actually true.
bombastic.
That is true. He did look like the cock of the walk.
Yes.
So, they went to commercial and they came back, and the main event was Hulk Hogan versus Meng.
You could put Randy Savage in a SpongeBob costume. I'd still be afraid of him.
Actually, even more.
Probably.
This man's out of his mind.
And dressed as a sponge.
Yeah, I'm out.
They can't trust this man.
Yeah.
There's no limits to what he might do if he's wearing a sponge costume. So they're talking about how everyone wants to be champion. Everyone wants to be the top guy. Meanwhile, Hulk Hogan versus Meng is main eventing on top of a world championship match.
That's right. Well, standby match.
I get, well, yeah,
It was not a standby match. Hulk Hogan is not in the standby match role.
no, he is not. So on their way down to the ring, Sullivan and Meng just stop and assault a random camera dude.
You noticed that?
Yeah.
They just threw him to the ground and started putting the boots to him.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Hey, it's the
Why
devil.
not?
And the announcers didn't notice this.
No, they made no mention of it whatsoever.
There is an assault on a crew member, and they don't care. So,
I got a new respect for Kevin Sullivan, by the way.
all right.
This guy was writing all the TV. He was the booker and put Hulk Hogan in the main event, created a stable of dingbats for Hulk Hogan to wrestle, all cartoons just like Hulk Hogan. And man, when Sullivan is outside attacking Hulk Hogan with karate chops to the neck, which are not even touching Hulk Hogan, I was like, this dude knows how to play the game.
Oh, yeah.
Karate chops. He was attacking Hulk Hogan with karate chops to the neck and back rakes.
Do you know the Super Brawl that's coming up is the infamous I Respect Ya Booker Man?
That's right.
Yeah.
I got a funny karate chop story very quickly.
Sorry.
Don't
I
we
don't
all?
want to take too much time. So, Elio Gracie, before he died, he wrote a book, and it featured all of his stand-up self-defense. A man attacks you, he tries to punch you, here's the hip throw. A man tries to hit you with a chair, which is actually one of the moves. You have to defend yourself against the chair. It's got this whole book. And for Pedro Sauer's black belt test, he opens the book on page 1, he reads every single move, and you've got to go through the entire book and do all of the stand-up self-defense. So Elio, of course, was born in the early 20th century. And so a lot of the self-defense is real old school stuff. And one of the moves that you have to demonstrate is a karate chop to the neck. So I was watching a black belt test, and Pedro's sitting there, and he's turning the page, and he's like, 2-hand lapel defense. And the guy does it. He turns the page and he goes, 1-hand lapel grab defense. And the guy does it. Turns the page and goes, karate chop to the neck. And the room is quiet, but then you slowly start to hear people chuckling. Karate chop to the neck, are you kidding me? So Pedro calmly closes the book, and he walks up to the 2 black belts, and he looks at one of them and he says, I want you to karate chop this guy in the neck as hard as you can. And they both look at him, and neither man was willing to karate chop his buddy in the neck as hard as he possibly could. And then Pedro went back, and he opened up the book, and he kept going. The point of this is, it hurts to be karate chopped in the fucking neck! That's what Sullivan did here. Dangerous hold.
I just want to add that someday I want to see a heel faction that actually calls themselves the Stable of Dingbats.
Sure.
I think that'd be great.
Hey, watching Raw, it's coming.
It's a roster of dingbats. So they had every Hulk Hogan match ever. Meng hit him with the golden spike and made a cover, and Hulk kicked out and hooked up. And then he's making his comeback, and Sullivan tries to interfere, but Savage cuts him off. And Hogan got a hold of the golden spike, drilled Meng behind the ref's back, and got the pin. And Hogan and Savage celebrated together, so they at least were on the same page, I believe, heading into their tag match, which I believe was later that week. And that was Nitro. Blew Raw out of the water, but I've seen many Nitros better than this.
And once again, Hogan used a foreign object to get the win.
Well, here it was, as the announcer said, he was fighting fire with fire. The heels brought it in. He just gave him a taste of their own medicine.
Has nobody noticed that they announced Jim Belushi was going to be on Saturday night?
They plugged actually not what's the word? Ad nauseum?
Yeah,
Jim
that works.
Belushi going to be on WCW Saturday night.
Yes, not John.
That would have been news.
That would have been news.
In 96, yes.
Yeah, he would have been there with Hawk on Raw.
Yes.
Sure.
Jim Belushi, WCW Saturday night. I was astonished. What the hell?
Why not?
I have no idea.
Why not? Why not? That's Nitro, everybody. Let's play a song. All right.
Nitro,
That's next.
January 22nd, 1996. The announcers were running down the show when Conan interrupted. He declared himself the Mexican heavyweight champion
That's right.
and said tomorrow he would be defending his belt against Psychosis. I guess they were doing a Clash of the Champions.
Clash of the Champions is the next day.
All right.
And this show, by the way, did a 3.5 rating to Raw's 2.4. They obliterated them.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Eric, after the ratings came in, called Vince McMahon,
Oh, really?
who did not answer, by the way. And he left a message and he said, whatever you're doing with those billionaire Ted skids, please keep it up. That's how he got his revenge. And then he changed 9,000 titles and started the rapid decline of this business.
Yeah. So the first match was Randy Savage against Ric Flair. Savage stole Flair's entrance of coming out with a bevy of beautiful women in evening gowns. I spotted Nancy Benoit,
That's right.
Deborah McMichael,
Yep.
Nurse Fifi, and Linda Hogan.
Really?
And, well, the thing was,
Who was a really good-looking blonde?
either Deborah or Linda.
It wasn't Deborah. That was Linda?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because she came out, and my first thought was, hey, it's Deborah. And then I recognized 2 or 3 more, and I thought, okay, I got to write all these down. And then when I went back and watched it, I couldn't tell if it was Deborah or Linda for a long time. I thought, what the hell do these women look like? And I Googled Linda Hogan. And do you know what pictures you get if you Google Linda Hogan?
I was about to Google, but now I'm going to hold off.
Age-inappropriate selfies.
Oh,
Ew.
no.
Just letting you know.
Brian's.
I'm doing it right now,
Where are you
actually.
going, Brian?
I'm going to Google this. I don't believe it.
No.
Wait, Linda who?
Hogan.
Linda McMahon.
That's
Did you
not
put
the
in
selfie you want to see.
Bolea or Hogan?
Hogan.
You put in Linda Hogan.
Yes.
Okay. Linda Hogan. Do I really want to do this? Too late. Yep, there's a selfie. Age inappropriate is correct. She is flaunting her gigantic fake bosom. What else do we have here?
Our listeners are running to their computers now.
Throw them out to ensure they don't do this on accident.
There's what appears to be an age inappropriate mugshot.
Actually, that's very age appropriate.
That's not her best photo there. Here's a photo of her at some sort of awards show or something. It's one of those things where they got the big thing in the background with all the sponsors. And she's looking at the photo, or she's looking at the camera and grabbing her own bosom. I don't know why. But that is, in fact, age inappropriate. Here's a photo of her and her daughter in bikinis holding a dog. Because that's what
Hogan's
people do. Here's a picture of Linda in a pink sports bra, which I don't even know where you could even find one this size. And she appears to be wearing the same pants Vinny is wearing right now, just in green. And no flip-flops. Here's a picture of her with her young boyfriend, her former fiancé. Remember that guy?
Vaguely.
Who actually looked like Hulk Hogan when Hogan was that age.
Yes.
We want to add to the creepiness factor here. And, yeah.
She rubbing lotion on his inner thighs.
No, they're just standing next to each other.
Thought it was a family thing.
No. Here's one where he straightened his hair, so he kind of looks a little bit like, who's the guy from Guns N' Roses? Axl Rose? Axl Rotten?
Totally different guy.
Yeah.
And
All
about
right.
50,
I've
60
seen
pounds.
more than enough here. More than enough.
So the key here, the announcers pointed out woman in this crew, and apparently she had managed Ric Flair at some point in the past.
Can't believe you sent me here.
I
Fifi? Fifi was there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. She's dating Flair now to this day.
I realize that.
Crazy.
So, yes, the announcers were talking about how a woman managed Ric Flair and the Horsemen sometime back in the day that I don't remember at all.
Brian is massively distracted.
I've thrown this show off the rails.
One more. You know how when you click on a picture on Google image search, the picture comes up, and then on the right-hand side,
There's more
there's
pictures.
another 8 pictures, and then there's like a description at the top.
Sure.
I'm just going to read you the description first.
Okay.
Brooke and Hulk Hogan, controversial photos, images.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm sure everybody knows what those are. It's when he was rubbing the tanning lotion all over her butt.
Yes.
But for some reason, the photo that links to this is Hulk Hogan in a pool kissing a dolphin. I guess that is a controversial photo. He's making out with an ungulate.
Is he really?
Is that the proper term?
I don't know.
The hell's an ungulate?
Where's your wife
I
at?
figured
She
you would know.
knows.
Ungulate.
You late.
Oh, whales and dolphins. I was right. God damn. Whale Scout, baby.
That's in there. Also, horses, cattle, and pigs.
That's right. The lower classifications include odd-toed ungulate. That's going to be your gimmick when we go back to
I
wrestling.
knew
Vinny.
you were going to say that. I just knew you were going to say
Because
that.
you wear those flip-flops. We can tell you're an odd-toed ungulate.
They're not flip-flops. They're old man loafers.
I have
Loafers.
flip-flops now.
See? I told you. Why do you have flip-flops in January?
I'm not wearing them today.
I see.
Remember the old sandals I had that had like straps over the ankle and the toe?
Your Jesus shoes.
Yes. Yes. I actually still have those, but I don't wear them anymore. I got some regular flip-flops.
Because you see, tying shoes takes effort.
I do hate tying shoes.
It is a lot of
I
effort.
always have hated tying shoes. Even when I was a kid and my shoes had laces, I would usually just walk around with my shoes untied. Tying shoes sucks.
What a rebel. Why don't you just get a
I'm
pair
lazy.
of shoes with Velcro?
I had them for a long time.
How in the hell did we get on this topic?
Ungulates. Blame the ungulates.
It was you and Brooke. Or Linda.
yeah.
All right.
Let's get this back on the rails.
So Ric Flair and Randy Savage had a match.
Yeah. So Randy Savage is coming out here for his World Championship match. He is about to contend for the World Heavyweight title. And Gene Okerlund says, hey, this is a good time for an interview.
Sure.
So Gene goes to interview him. And then even more shocking, Randy Savage's best friend, Hulk Hogan, decides this is a good time to challenge him to a title match.
What a dick.
What an asshole Hulk Hogan was.
By the way, before he actually won the title.
Yeah.
Well, Hogan was the booker.
Okay.
He knew it was coming, this championship change.
I see.
So he had to book himself in a match and ask. Never mind.
It's more just being a dick to your friend than anything else.
Right.
Let him concentrate. What do you
It's
have to
Hulk
do?
Hogan.
He's a terrible man.
Not to mention they're doing the exact same storyline with Luger and Sting.
Yes, they are. Yeah, we'll get to this.
Yeah.
We'll get to this. So, we had every Flair
How
set.
does that hurt? Go ahead,
There
Vince.
was the wacky ladder spot on the network. We had every Flair Savage match you ever saw, which is not as good as every Flair Hogan match you ever saw or every Flair Sting match you ever saw, but still okay. So,
They had an awesome spot with the ref. Flair is having problems with Pee Wee Anderson throughout the match. First, he's arguing with him, and then he just does a flop, which was hilarious. And later, he's got the figure 4 on, and he's grabbing the ropes. And Pee Wee is checking on Savage, and Flair is grabbing the ropes, and Pee Wee turns around, and Flair lets go. And he goes back to checking on Savage, and Flair grabs the ropes, and this time Pee Wee catches him. And he says, "Let go of them ropes." And Flair says, "I'm not letting go of these ropes." So Pee Wee Anderson grabs Flair by the hair and yanks him violently off the ropes. Flair is screaming, grabbing at his hair. He stands up and he shoves Pee Wee, and Pee Wee shoves him back, and Flair almost falls down. This was awesome. I have decided Flair is the best worker of all time.
a shocking revelation.
Yes.
Yes. So, eventually, Arn runs down. He goes to hit Savage with a gimmick. Savage ducks, and Flair gets hit. At this point, the bell began to ring. I figured it was a DQ. But then Savage hit the big elbow, and the ref counted 3, and the bell rang again.
Some idiot with the bell hammer.
This wasn't the only screw up on this show.
No, this is a very WCW-rific episode of
Oh,
Nitro.
yeah. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah. So Savage was, in fact, the new world champion. And out, of course, came Gene Okerlund and Hulk Hogan.
Hogan was waiting in the wings.
God.
And you know what the best part was? He comes out like an asshole, and Savage immediately cuts him off and says, "Listen, homeboy, you're celebrating like you won the title. You didn't. I won the title."
Yes.
Savage's character is a paranoid crazy man. And I'm not sure if it's his own personality turned up to 10 or if it is his personality dialed down to 10.
Yes. That is entirely possible. So they jibber-jabbered, "I want a title shot. Oh, it's not up to me. Oh, we got a team anyway. Bye, 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 bye." Same fucking shit they do every week. Dean Malenko versus Brian Pillman.
Well, the key is they're going to do a rematch, or they're going to do a match for the title at Caesar's Palace, which, by the way, they didn't have booked yet. They're just shooting their own angles. And they're teaming up the next day on The Clash against Ric Flair and The Giant.
Mm-hmm.
And the original plan for the match, you'll never guess, was for Hulk Hogan to big boot, leg drop, and pin Ric Flair.
Okay.
Flair said, "Fuck you, I quit." And so they said, "All right, well, we'll change it." And so Flair ended up pinning Savage with brass knucks.
All right.
That's the way things were going here in WCW at that time.
Yeah. So the best part of the Malenko-Pillman match, of course, was the Four Horsemen theme song. One of the best wrestling songs ever. Pillman, early on, didn't care about doing a wrestling match and only wanted to get his crazy gimmick over, so he was always shouting at the cameraman and just being nutty. It was kind of annoying. It turned into a better match towards the end, and then they did an amazingly horrible finish.
your boy Nick Patrick, Vinny,
It was,
fucked it up again.
in fact, Nick Patrick. So they're brawling basically.
What?
No, just keep talking. I'll interject in a minute.
They were brawling essentially on the apron, and suddenly Malenko falls into the ring with his leg caught between the ropes.
Yes.
Now, not on the ropes, not under the ropes, but entwined
Yes.
in the ropes.
Trapped.
Yes. Pillman, who had been on the apron, fell down to the floor and then climbed in the ring and made a cover. And Nick Patrick dropped down and counted 3 as Malenko's leg was tied up in the ropes. And
Yes.
it's not even like Pillman threw him down with the ref behind him and then made a cover so Patrick couldn't see him. No. At one point, Malenko with his leg in the ropes was between the ref and Pillman. This was awful. And it ended, and all Bobby Heenan could say, and this man has seen thousands of wrestling matches, and no doubt thousands of horrible ones, all he could say was, well, that happened.
This was absolutely the worst Brian Pillman I've ever seen.
What?
He was horrendous in this match. He was stumbling over himself.
Well, he was supposed to be pretending he was drunk.
He was doing a heck of a job of it.
He may have been fucked up. I don't know.
It was not a good performance by Brian Pillman. And if, in fact, as you alluded to, he was impaired, no better man he could have been in the ring with but Dean Malenko.
Yeah. Forget Pillman for a second. I got to talk more about Patrick.
He sucks.
I don't know if you two have ever wrestled.
Sort of.
Kind of.
But before the match, at least back in the day when this business was great, the referee came up to you and he said, what's your finish?
Mm-hmm.
And you say, well, Craig is going to get his foot caught in the ropes, and I'm going to cover him, and you're not going to see it, and that's the finish.
Sure.
The ref goes, oh, okay. So apparently Patrick just thought, as long as I'm in position and not see his foot when I count, who cares about the rest? And he made sure he was in a perfect position to see this entire thing. Mm-hmm. Dean Malenko on his back, his leg caught in the ropes, struggling to free himself, and Patrick stumbling around in the ring until Pillman made a cover. And then he made sure to run all the way around so that he could drop down in position to not see the foot.
Sure.
How did I never notice this when I was young? How bad Nick Patrick was as a referee. Every single match we've seen in the last, how many weeks now? 23 weeks?
22.
That many?
Something like that.
Wow, that's a long time.
One fuck up after another by Nick Patrick.
Yeah, he's no good.
Come on, dude. Turn it around.
Well, I don't think he's working anymore, if that helps. Is he alive?
I think he's fine.
Nick Patrick?
I'm just asking.
That is wrestling. It's a fair question.
Right.
Well, Pee-wee has passed away.
That's unfortunate. He was great.
Yeah, Nick Patrick, he's only 55. He could come back at any time.
Let's hope not.
Debuted in 1984 when I was 9. He's only 55 years old. Son of Jody Hamilton, the son of the assassin.
Yep. So he grew up in the business and still turned out that horrible.
He learned to referee wearing the assassin's mask backwards. I don't know if
What?
you knew that. He bought it.
You got a fish on the line there, Brian. Reel him in.
Hey, Patrick was on SmackDown in February of 2008. He was refereeing in WWE in 2008. He refereed a tag match between Jesse and Festus and quickly disappeared again. I guess he's had chronic back pain.
From kneeling down to do the count?
Well, he took a lot of bumps.
When?
In his career.
I see.
Maybe got in an accident somewhere. I don't know. All I know is he was no good in this match. But God bless him. What's so funny?
You always say that. You bury a guy. God bless him.
Well, listen, in real life, I'm a nice guy. I hope for God to bless Nick Patrick. But on this show, he sucks as a referee.
Vinny had a bewildered look on his face, and he looked right at me for...
What? Proceed.
Harlem Heat versus Sting and Lex Luger.
I've never wished anybody ill.
It's always fun to go back in this time frame and watch the gradual changes in Sting's hair.
Yeah.
Because last week...
It changed?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Last week, remember, he had the giant 1980s kind of slick back pompadour?
Mm-hmm.
Here, he cut it, but it has also stopped dyeing it. So it's just brown and short. And this, of course, was leading in a crow sting, which I don't know if that was a specific plan, but I'm sure he thought he was time to change.
I'm sure they had a plan here in early 1996 for where they were going at the end of 97.
Yeah, but I'm sure he was doing something to change his look here. So, the point of this match was, you know, Luger has been telling Sting that they're friends forever, actually, but he had always been conveniently backstabbing him, unintentionally it appeared, but still, every time Lex was around, things went bad for Sting. So Sting is running wild here. He puts Stevie Ray in the Scorpion, but then Lex conveniently takes the ref, and Booker T, or as Mongo called him, one of the Harlem Heat. There's two of them, and you can keep track. And,
Well,
and they're not twins. Before anyone brings up the Usos.
Don't say it, Brian.
So Booker hits an axe kick
What are
and
you
lays out
talking
Sting.
about?
Oh, I know what you're thinking.
So Booker, they beat up Sting for a while, and every time they do, it's not like the usual babyface false tag where they get the hot tag, but the rest back was turned by accident. Lex was very clearly trying to avoid getting into the ring and would only make tags when the ref was not looking. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in here, Jimmy passes Lex a gimmick. Lex is holding the gimmick behind his back while trying to tag in.
Actually, you're missing one very key element. They actually made the hot tag, and Luger went in through the ring.
All right.
And then realized, oh, wait, I don't have the gimmick in my hand yet. They all went outside, and then Sting was back in the ring working with Stevie Ray.
Okay. And they just did the hot tag again.
And then, as the ref's back was turned, Jimmy jumps up on the apron, hands Lex the gimmick, and then the hot tag was made again.
Okay, you're right. I did not. That was an even bigger cluster than I realized.
Yeah.
Because when Lex did have the gimmick and did get the hot tag, he jumped in the ring, and suddenly everyone was in everyone's way. Mm-hmm. I watched this about 3 times trying to figure out what went on. All I can tell you is that Stevie Ray was in his corner. At the moment of the tag, he entered the ring. He walked across the ring, and then he went out.
Was that Nick Patrick?
I wasn't watching, Brian.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Paused the network to see if Nick Patrick was on for a
It was just so ironic that I just saw Nick Patrick on a WWE
I
television
was
show.
telling this great story making fun of Stevie Ray.
Now keep telling about the story.
So the point is, eventually Lex gets a chance to punch Booker T. Mm-hmm. It's his only move. He hits this punch. The gimmick explodes. Silver dollars go everywhere. Lex makes the cover. And it was, in fact, Nick Patrick who got down on the mat surrounded by money
Yes.
and just counted the pin.
He thought he was in Mexico. People were throwing money into the ring. The match was so good.
Yes. So Sting and Lex are now tag champs. And Lex rolls outside, and the ref hands him the belts. Sting has no idea what's going on. He asks, what happened?
Yeah.
And Luger shouts, we won! And he says, I told you we could do it.
And Sting went, yeah.
All I know is, whatever you want to say about Pillman, that match was great compared to this clusterfuck.
This was not good.
No.
This was so clunky. The highlight was, I think Sting had Stevie Ray in the Scorpion Deathlock. He had him in some sort of hold, and Booker T is going to break it up with an axe kick.
Yeah.
He fucking axe kicked Sting
Killed him.
right in the back of the head. Looked like he nearly killed this poor guy. This is why this guy had no hair dye in his hair. It's because of this axe kick.
Got knocked out.
Knocked it all out of there. And they were falling all over each other and bonking into each other, and there's money everywhere, and Nick Patrick doesn't notice money. Yeah, this was no good. But it was exciting.
There's a big development. And then the main event, after the World Championship change and the World Tag Team Championship change, was a U.S. title, non-title match.
Yeah, think about that. Luger and Sting are qualified to face the Harlem Heat for the tag titles. Randy Savage is qualified to face Ric Flair for the world title. Hulk Hogan unqualified to challenge for the United States title against the one-man gang.
This actually was a very WWE in 2015 thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
One-man gang had just won the U.S. title like a week or two ago. So he fights here against Hulk Hogan. First of all, one-man gang, if none of you, if you haven't seen him, he was a fat man. He was much fatter than myself. He was fatter than Craig.
Thank you.
Wow.
And I bring this up. There's a point to this.
He was fatter than Brian, too, for that matter.
He was, in fact, fatter than Brian.
Yeah.
He was fatter than that fan right there.
Just barely, though.
That was a large fan. So Hulk Hogan took this large, fat man who has...
I know where you're going.
He has a lot of things, who had a lot going for him as a pro wrestler. And Hogan decided to make this a cardio race.
Oh, yeah.
You've never seen a fat man run the ropes and run the corners so much.
He had him
Jesus.
running corner to corner, hitting the ropes, running and jumping.
This was 3 minutes of nonstop action for a large fat man. And
Yeah.
by the end, he was done.
Oh, yeah.
He had nothing left to give for this match. So Hogan body slammed him and leg dropped him and pinned him. U.S. champion beaten clean in the ring in 3 minutes.
Yep.
Like a geek.
I did love that One Man Gang is old school.
Yeah.
And so he knew exactly what you do with Hulk Hogan. You run all over. You sell like a motherfucker. You go, ah, every time he hits you. You go up light for the body slam. And then you lay there for the leg drop. That's why he had a job.
Yeah.
Men figured that out.
Best thing about this was Gang actually got a little bit of offense. He hit the 747, his big splash.
Yeah.
As he's running to do it again, Hogan starts hulking up, and now they're face to face in the middle of the ring. Gang is looking at Hogan, and for whatever reason, his eyes grow wide, and he looks back on the mat to make sure he's not seeing things, because that's where Hogan was just moments before.
Yes. His eyes deceived him.
Whipped him in, hit the boot, 1, 2, 3 after the leg drop.
You know what's funny about this fatty, though? When I was a kid, he looked a lot fatter. You ever notice that?
I'll give you that.
People have gotten so fat here in 2015 that these guys who used to be grossly obese aren't that fat no more. He was pretty fat, don't get me wrong. But he wasn't like, Viscera.
No.
And even, what's funny is even back in the 90s, Viscera wasn't that fat. He got very, very fat at the end.
I see.
But back in the 90s, he was just a big, heavy guy. And One Man Gang had a large stomach area, but he had pretty skinny legs, no ass. He wasn't like that fat, you know what I mean?
Sure.
He could move.
Kind of like Craig's
exactly 3 minutes.
fat ass. Or not fat, flat. Haven't we
Yes.
mentioned that?
All the time.
Good for bumping,
Sure.
isn't it?
No.
Well-
Bumping sucks.
Well, I mean, bumping sucks for everybody, but when you have a flat back area, it should be easier, right? If you were a hunchback, it would really hurt.
Well, yeah.
So the flatter, the better.
I'll take your word for it, Brian.
Well, I don't know. That's just what I thought. But yeah, One Man Gang knew what he was doing.
Are we done?
No, we have to keep talking about the dungeon.
I just want to make sure you guys are done.
Yeah.
So, yes, Hogan won. Then the Dungeon of Doom and the Horsemen came out to attack him, and Randy Savage came out, and they fought them all off.
Mm-hmm.
These two men fought off every heel in the world. Zodiac was holding the giant back again. And then Nitro ended the way I believe Nitro has ended every single one of these 22 weeks. Oakland interviewing Hogan and Gene, and they agree they're going to fight everyone else and then fight each other.
That's right.
Because they've been watching the same goddamn show for 6 months.
Yep. They announced that Kevin Green was going to be at the Clash. They were very excited about that. I don't even know why.
He was in the Super Bowl that year.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
The year prior then?
Just like a month prior. In fact, actually, you know what?
Not yet.
It would have just been about to take place.
I just realized that. But yes, he would be in the Super Bowl a week after this or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And Miss Elizabeth.
And the Road Warriors.
And the Road Warriors are coming back. WCW's on fire. All these elderly people returning.
So this was a complete mess of a show. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but the 2015 Raw was better than the Nitro Flashback this week.
I will agree.
Well, I'll say that the main event of Raw was 1,000 times better than anything on this Nitro. However, the show was more exciting.
It was only an hour.
You never knew what was going to happen in any moment on this show.
Guess
Bodies flying everywhere.
You never knew what Stevie Ray was going to fuck up next.
That's true. I was going through the network to find this show, and they do everything in reverse order.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to 1996, the very first thing that's choosable is the last one.
68, I think it is.
68 or 62. So you have to scroll all the fucking way down to the bottom to get where you're supposed to be. But when 64 or 68 or whatever came up, that's 2 hours.
Yep.
But it's only an hour and, 18 minutes or something? Without commercials. But anyway, I think we just got to keep going. We just got to power on through. It's going to get better and worse.
Right.
I do vow that when it gets to 3 hours, we're done. Not handling 3 hours.
I'm okay with that.
Correct answer.
But 96, 97 was very, very exciting.
There was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on, and I think that we should continue this, and we should trek on. Trek on. Let's play a song. I had a Savage song here. Randy Savage. All right, Vinny, let's do Nitro.
Monday Night Raw. When that show debuted, I can remember
Danger Mouse.
that was a great show. When Nitro debuted, I remember reading somewhere someone was complaining about it because it's so clearly a ripoff of Monday Night Raw. They just capitalize the R and make it Monday Night Raw. I swear to God, somebody said this.
Yeah, I had a call about that on the show the other day.
I'll see. There you go.
One thing I don't like about this Danger Mouse is there's a bomb here, and it reminds me of Mighty Bomb Jack. Fucking hate that game.
So no one's ever allowed to use a bomb again?
No.
Do you play Stratego and get upset?
I don't play Stratego.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
It has bombs.
The spy versus spy.
Is that like Minesweeper? That has bombs, right?
It does, in fact.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
So Monday Nitro. The opener was Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair.
Before we get to the match, it opened up with the announcers, and Bischoff is going crazy talking about this is the most exciting Nitro of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a big fan of these early Nitros, but when he announced there was going to be another fucking title match on television tonight,
Yes.
I was like, there's been a title match on every Nitro for what, a month now? Probably like a month straight. We've had a title match on every single Nitro. Remember they made Savage defend the title like twice once or something crazy?
Yes.
So it's Savage versus the Giant. And as much as we make fun of WWE, when their champion is around, which I should note is rarely lately, he's never defending the title on every single television show. Mm-hmm. You watch this show, and we're going to get to everything, but this show was out of control. There were people getting hurt. There was craziness. There was bodies everywhere. There were fucking botched spots. This was a disaster. It was very exciting, don't get me wrong. I thought the show was very exciting, but it was a disaster.
So yes, Hogan versus Flair in the opener. Seriously, maybe the most highest profile opening matchup ever.
It's up there.
Hogan came out like Savage did last week with a bunch of hot babes. So this was, as we've said many times over the past few months, every Hogan Flair match ever, except the only unusual thing I noticed here was Hulk Hogan was throwing some lame clotheslines.
I thought you were going to say the only unusual thing was that Ric Flair won.
Well, there's that too. There's that as well.
That was pretty fucking unusual.
But Hogan, if it happened once, I probably wouldn't have made a big deal out of it. But it happened like 5 times where like he just hold his arm out and Flair would run at it and fall down, and Hogan would like move his arm backwards to make it less impactful.
He was very, very lazy in this match.
Yeah. Probably because he was losing, actually, now I think about it.
Well, no, because this was Hogan's idea. Hogan was supposed to beat Flair again, just like he was at the Clash. And at the Clash, Flair said, "Fuck you, I quit." And so they changed the finish. So Flair ended up pinning Savage. And then I guess Flair was willing to lay down for Hogan this time. But Hogan showed up the building and decided, I am going to have Flair beat me with a stiletto heel to the eye. That's what happened.
Very strange. So, yes, to make a long story short, there was interference from Jimmy Hart and Arn Anderson. And Hogan went to make a cover, but Elizabeth's shoe was in Flair's hand. And he jabbed Hulk in the eye with it and rolled him over and covered him for the win. Yes.
Accurate, you missed a whole lot of details, such as 9,000 people coming down to ringside, Jimmy Hart assaulting and trying to kidnap Elizabeth, Arn tearing the shoe off of her foot and handing it to Ric Flair.
And in the ring.
That's right.
I believe I did say I was cutting to the chase. I couldn't make a long story short, didn't I?
I see.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Those
You
are important
prefaced that.
details because I believe Hogan loses again to Arn next week.
I see.
Well, Arn hit the ring with the shoe originally, which was not a DQ. And then it went to the finish.
That's right. This was very newsworthy at the time.
It was a huge deal.
Ric Flair pinned Hulk Hogan. And I'm almost positive, this is totally from memory, I'm almost positive that they do Arn versus Hogan next week, and Hogan loses again. Elizabeth had quite the natural bosom, I might add.
She was a lovely young lady.
Yeah, 35, Vinny, at the time.
Really?
Yeah. 35 years old.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
That works, Vinny
That's
says.
okay.
Well, I'm thinking back to his time.
That age is acceptable to me.
35 is good for me.
I'm just thinking. Well, I thought she debuted with him in WWF in 1985, so that would make her 25 then, which is totally reasonable.
Yes. Now, as I approach 40, I will accept these 35-year-olds.
Screw you and screw you.
What are you talking about? He said it.
All right.
That's going to be an unacceptable edit. Or whatever they call it. What do they call it? Inappropriate censorship?
Unnecessary.
Unnecessary censorship.
So we had the Faces of Fear versus the Road Warriors.
Oh, Hogan gigged, by the way.
Yes,
that is
he
true.
did.
That is true. Yes, to sell the shoe to the eye. My takeaway from this tag team match was, if any of you have ever thought to yourself for even a solitary second, this Ascension team might be something good. Incorrect. Road Warriors in 2 minutes were better than the Ascension ever have been. Now, that being said,
I was going to say, Hawk was not great in this match.
Nor was Animal.
Animal was all right.
they in their high spots in the opening, when they were running wild, hitting shoulder blocks and clotheslines and doing the pose that Triple H has stolen and roaring, and Roman Reigns too, actually. But everyone was going nuts, and no one gets nuts for the Ascension like this. So, no, the match was not very good. Oh, also, I want to point out, as the Faces of Fear were working Animal over, Mongo was sure to point out that they were not serious competition.
Mongo's such a fucking
He
idiot.
was so...
He was even worse at the end of the show.
like,
Yes.
How bad... Seriously, what would he have had to have done to have been fired from this job? Snort coke on the air?
He would have had to do something illegal, I'm sure. And even that, it'd probably have to be on air.
So,
All I know is...
there was a... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there were...
8,000 bot spots?
First off, the Road Warriors actually sold. Mostly Animal. When the heels beat the hell out of him for a long time, they set up the hot tag, and they botched it. I believe what happened was Barbarian called a clothesline.
Off the top.
And if you've ever heard... No.
They botched that as well, though.
That's what I'm talking about. But he didn't say off the top, because if you've ever heard Barbarian do a promo, he speaks no English. I'm sure he said, "Harda!" And Animal interpreted this as, "You're going to clothesline me." And Barbarian was going to clothesline him. So Barbarian leaps off the top, and they literally just hit each other, and they both fall down. So Barbarian gets up and decides,
Do it again.
which means I'm going to do it again. He goes up top, and they do the exact same spot. The exact same spot, without even one spot in between to make people forget that they fucked up.
Yep.
They repeat it, they get it right, and then they go to the hot tag, and more botchery ensues, and finally Hawk clotheslines Ming after yet another botch spot and gets the pin.
The finish was supposed to be Barbarian would go for a pile driver, but Hawk would hit him with a clothesline and pin him. So Barbarian puts Animal in position for this pile driver, and he looks around, and Hawk is nowhere to be seen. So he says, "Screw it, I'll just pile drive him anyway." So he hits a pile driver, and then he didn't make a cover. He didn't go to make a tag or anything else. He hit a pile driver and then picked him up to go for another pile driver. And then Hawk hit him and it won.
Oh, God, this was so bad.
Very, very, very sloppy, but as they say, it worked in the building.
It was exciting. It was fun. It was crazy.
It was fun and crazy.
I was looking at Hawk and Animal, and of course they're two huge men, and the only thing I could think of is they had to walk around in public with those haircuts.
Let's wear a hat.
Do Rex?
Yeah. Some of us wear hats, Craig. I wear a hat every day.
You should.
How dare you? You should wear a girdle. Oh!
Brian,
Is that right? I don't know.
I don't know.
What do they call them? Spanx?
I call
I don't
them,
know what any of this shit is.
I call them Under Armour.
I see.
So anyway,
Who was that used to always... Didn't we wrestle a guy who was like ridiculously fat and he always wore Under Armour? Not you.
like 5 of us. What are you talking about?
There was tons of guys like that.
Do you remember that roster?
One of them was Sonny until he dropped an incredible amount of weight.
He did. He got down to
put up
220.
Sonny O'Mara, a good friend, posted some before and after pictures today. They're pretty amazing. down like 120 pounds or something.
Yeah, he looks great.
Down
Yes,
to
he does.
230 from 355.
Yes.
Dude, I got a buddy that trains jiu-jitsu with us who was 380 pounds, and he is now 230 pounds.
Holy
That is
crap.
a lot of weight.
He has lost you.
Yeah, he was 380, and he got all the way down to 280, and then he got a new job, and he disappeared for like 6 months. And then some fucker that looked like Cain Velasquez basically walks into the gym one day, and I was like, holy shit, it's Ryan. And sure enough, he was a real good, I guess he was like a college football player or something like that. So he's like this really good athlete, and he was super strong when he was 380, and now he's 230. This guy's fucking a holy terror. But yeah, lost a lot of weight. I don't know how I got into this topic. Spanx?
It was your hat.
That's right. Go on, Vinny.
Gene Okerlund interviewed Kevin Sullivan, who was still pissed about Brian Pillman. And Pillman and Arn Anderson showed up to speak for themselves. At least that's what I thought. In fact, Arn brought Pillman out there to give him a tongue lashing.
This was so
Not
awesome.
just a tongue lashing.
In fact, a literal lashing, yes.
Arn Anderson, a grown man, was going to give another grown man a licking with his belt.
When
Yeah.
you put it that way, it makes it sound silly.
Isn't it preposterous?
He took off his belt.
Yeah. He's like, I'm
No,
going to bend you over.
he explained why Pillman was in trouble. Specifically, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
But Ric Flair had been wrestling Hulk Hogan mere minutes ago and needed help, and Pillman was not there to help him. He was selfish. So then,
Well, he kind of said that. He actually made it sound, he said Flair just beat Hulk Hogan fair and square in the middle of the ring.
I see.
You should have been there for this.
I see. So yes, he said it was time for tough love, and he removed his belt.
Yeah.
And Pillman's response
I'm going to tan your ass, young feller.
was
That's what this was about, Vinny.
Yeah.
Pillman's response was to drop down to his knees and plead for mercy.
Yeah.
I would too.
Where was the vignette of, Pillman in the corner? Because that's usually the first step.
Well,
Put him in timeout, and if that doesn't work,
Yes.
these are the horsemen, dude. You skip right to the lashing.
So before Arn could whip Pillman with a belt, Arn was attacked by Kevin Sullivan and Hugh Morris.
why?
I don't know.
What do you mean, why? They're
Why?
feuding.
They're
mad at
Arn
Pillman.
was going to beat him, and then Sullivan's
Craig,
like,
there's
the whole point of
no honor among thieves, for fuck's sake.
know, but
Two heel groups.
Sullivan said, I'm not going to let you beat him, and he starts beating up on Arn,
Yeah,
which gave
they're
Pillman
bad
the
guys.
time.
They're bad guys. They're all fuckers.
So Pillman rolled outside. He looks inside where Arn's getting double teamed and makes no attempt to help
Right.
until Kevin Sullivan runs him down. And he goes after Pillman. Meanwhile, Arn makes his own comeback in the ring. He chases the dungeon off, and he cuts a promo demanding a match with Sullivan and his stooge. And Pillman declared, I got us into this mess. I will get us out. I have never seen a promotion.
I ain't holding my breath for that, by the way.
I have never seen a promotion where the baby faces fought baby faces and the heels fought heels as often as 1996 WCW.
You did miss the point where Sullivan actually took the belt from Arn and went outside and started beating Pillman. with
That's
it,
right.
Which led to their infamous "I respect you, Booker Man."
I think very
That's
soon.
right.
I think very soon after this.
Arn's promo was fabulous. It was great.
Everything Arn does is fabulous.
That's true.
Okerlund interviewed Sherry.
You know what's funny about Arn, though, is when I watch him on these Nitros, Arn had to retire because he had a bad neck. And so, like, in my brain, every time somebody attacks Arn, I'm like, oh, no, he's going to break his neck.
Yeah. So, they showed clips of Medusa ruining Sherry's wedding to Rob Parker. And then before the interview could begin, Medusa jumped Sherry from behind and the match started.
Gene was, like, running for his life. And
Gene, like, he
don't run very fast. And he's calling his own spots as he runs.
well, yeah.
I'm out of here!
He's looking at Sherry, and he looks behind Sherry and sees Medusa on the top rope. He doesn't warn Sherry,
No,
but he lets everyone at home and in the building know, I am getting out of here right now.
Hey, listen, when this shit happens, it's every man for himself.
Apparently. So it was Medusa versus Sherry. For about 3 minutes, they had a super intense brawl that would put most of today's WWE roster to shame. And then Medusa tried to slam Sherry off the top, but Sherry turned it into a small package for the win.
This was very weird.
you don't say.
Oh, it's going to get weirder.
Well, I was reading The Observer about this, and Dave is talking about Sherry. And apparently there was some incident where Sherry didn't show up. And so I guess she was on thin ice. And so she was upset or something, and she was considering not showing up, but she figured if she didn't show up here, she would be fired. And so she showed up. So I'm reading that, and I'm thinking, okay, well, you don't have a leg to stand on here if you're afraid you're going to get fired. So then apparently she shows up at the building, and she refuses to lose to Medusa.
Really?
And I'm like, you're afraid of being fired, but then you show up and you refuse to lose to Medusa? So she loses to Medusa, and I guess Medusa, before the show, had gone to somebody and said, okay, I'm putting this girl over, but can I get my heat back and give her a German after the match? And they're like, sure. So, of course, it's fucking WCW, so nobody tells Sherry. So Sherry has no idea this German is coming. And Medusa comes up behind her and fucking Germans her right on her head. It looked like she was dead.
The first, when I first saw it, I thought, that's the best suplex I ever saw. Huge, threw her high into the air, fantastic back arch, and looked like it spiked her down. And yes, it did in fact knock Sherry unconscious.
Out
Cold.
And then Medusa grabs her and starts banging her fucking head into the mat.
While she's out.
Repeatedly.
First, she started throwing worked punches at Sherry's limp body, and they looked horrible because Sherry, of course, was not selling. She wasn't moving at all. Then it appeared that Medusa tried to wake her up by hitting her. So Sherry's unconscious head is bouncing back and forth. And then, yes, Medusa grabbed Sherry's unconscious head and bounced it up and down. I was screaming watching this.
It was bad.
This was no good.
And then they go back to the announcers, and Bischoff is just freaking out, and he's like, I'm shaking here. Something's up with Sherry. They just took her to the back, and somebody please give me an update. And I'm sure the viewers at home, they're just like, it's Bischoff being Bischoff. But that fucker was scared, because it looked like she was killed.
It looked very, very, very bad.
And I will defend my boy, Nick Patrick. He was very, very good here as a referee. He was in perfect position to count the quick pin when Sherry did the roll-up after Medusa came off the top. So thumbs up to Nick Patrick here on this show. He's turning his career around.
You know, I will say this for you, Brian. You are more than willing to give second chances.
That's right.
That is true. Giant versus Randy Savage in the main event. Savage was champion here, right?
Yes.
They've changed the
This
title.
was a championship match, yes.
They've changed the title a lot lately. Oh, sorry. Savage attacked him with the belt before the match, and they just called it a DQ.
Mm-hmm.
I love this because there's an immediate DQ because a dude hit another dude with a belt.
A large, heavy weapon.
And Bobby Heenan, I don't know if it's because they just were rewriting the show throughout the day or what happened, but Bobby Heenan had no idea why they called for the bell. Then he had no idea and thought there was a new world champion.
Yeah.
Like, what? Does anybody know what's going on this show?
No. So Flair ran down and attacked Savage. Flair and Giant beat him up for a long time. They hit a choke slam, and they were talking about how Hulk Hogan had been taken out. There was no one to save Randy because he had no other friends, apparently. Then Hogan runs out with his head all bandaged up. He cleared the ring with a chair. Unprotected chair shots a go-go. And once again, Zodiac was holding the Giant back.
Is this storyline ever going to end?
No.
I am sick of it.
And then Giant and Flair hit the announce desk, and they just cut scary promos for a while. I don't know if did they do the tag match at the Clash? Is that what they were hyping here?
The Clash had been a couple of days prior.
I see.
They were building up Super Brawl.
Okay. Is that another tag match?
Maybe it's next week.
I don't know. So yeah, that was Nitro. That was not a boring show.
No.
It was a
Flair going crazy at the booth. He's talking about how he beat Hogan twice. He's going to do it again at Super Brawl. I guess that's the Super Brawl main event, which means they probably had about 3 matches at Super Brawl over the next 5 years. Because I know they had one in 99 and another one in 2000.
The Age of the Cage. Age of the Cage is Piper.
That's Piper, yeah.
The barbed wire cage, so there's not barbed wire.
And then Flair's up there, and he sits down, and he puts the thing on his head, and he's screaming, "I'm the host!" And Mongo is just sitting there, and he just laughs and puts his head in his hands, making a complete mockery of this entire deal.
Everybody else had cleared the announce desk. Everybody else was out of here. These men are crazy. We're gone. Mongo sitting there and mocking Flair the whole time and doing nothing but putting himself over.
That's right. And Flair finally starts challenging Mongo to a fight.
Yeah.
He's like, come on, Mongo. I was like, just punch him. And then Heenan never even left. The guy who's the most afraid of anybody to get beat up. Heenan stayed there the entire time so that after all of these madmen could be crazy, he could go out there and he could explain what was going on to all of the people at home. And the heels ran wild and the baby faces limped to the back, all injured. This show was out of control. It's the only way to describe it. This show was completely out of control.
Crash TV.
We've only been watching, let's see, we started in September. So October, November, December, it's been 4 months, and this show is already like the Titanic. Mm-hmm. And the good stuff hasn't even come along yet. It's already a disaster. That's the show, everybody.
What's insanity?
All right, let's play a song here. Somebody, I believe, set this up.